This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, where each and every week we break down the good, the bad, and the awesome of all things wrestling and video games. My name is George Feis.
And I'm Johnny Clash, and today we are playing Royal Pro Wrestling GQ Live. Will it get a rating of Play It Forever?
Woo!
Or a future endeavor?
You're fired!
We also discuss some new 2K24 roster reveals, some match types, some arenas, and even more.
And as always, please make sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star rating and a review for this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you choose to listen. And follow along on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. And don't forget, you can get ad-free access to this show, access to show notes, be a part of the live recording, and so much more when you join our Patreon, patreon.com/GameMarksPod. Johnny Clash, my friend.
What's up?
Another week, another game. Before we get into this week, let's talk about last week. A sudden, abrupt ending to a game, if you will. WWE undefeated. How are we feeling about it a week out?
So doing like the socials, the notes and all that, editing the episode, like I got to look even further into like some of the art, the graphics, those renders that they had, the drawings and all that. And I think we made the right choice with Play It Forever here.
Yeah, and we even talked about some like the concept art that we had found online in the middle of the episode. And I think it artistically it just was cool and different and not your, it felt like a wrestling game, but didn't look like every other cookie cutter wrestling game.
Yeah, it had something like unique to it, and just terrible that it just went away so suddenly. But hey, that's the way. What's saying? That's the way the cookie crumbles. So
I guess so. Yeah,
but it's Play Forever. It was a good game, and that's that. We'll get into this week's game shortly, but we got some more news. 'Tis the season. Royal Rumble 24 cards have arrived in Supercard. Now that's the complete catalog, including some new cards like Big John Studd, Kairi Sane, Mr. Perfect, Dragon Lee, Kiana James, and Lyra Valkyria. We'll pretend I know who that is. So the Rumble 24 cards have arrived in Supercard. Like we were saying last week with the mobile games, this game is still going. It's going to go for a long time. It's just got that thing that just reels you in for a little bit.
It's got that intangible it factor. The game will not go away. I've, much like Champions, have left and come back to the game multiple times. Yeah. And it's one of those games where like if the game's been out for several years now at this point. And I remember early on in the life of the podcast, we were just like, when do we cover it? Because it's constantly getting updated.
Yeah, we're
and
it doesn't look season by season or something.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard game to cover. It might be the first game that has to get like a multiple part episode just because it's been around for so long. To cover the roster of that game is an episode in itself.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's cool that no matter when you go back, all your stuff is still there. A lot of people that aren't even on the roster anymore or have gone on to other companies, they're still in your deck, and I think that's pretty cool. All right, 2K24, we're going to go to the faithful SmackDown Hotel. First of all, we learned some new stuff about the 40 Years of WrestleMania pack. It's not coming out with the launch of the game, and I think the biggest reason is they want to put the WrestleMania logo in there, a whole arena in there, and obviously that didn't happen yet, and it's not going to happen till right around the time this game comes out, so they're going to need some time to make it. I'm sure they have the renders and the concept art and all that, but they need to actually make the arena, so that's going to come out in the summer, so a little something to look forward to down the line. Always
and there's usually the Hall of Fame
next, right?
That goes through it too, right? They do the Hall of Fame pack, which they haven't really spoke about much, and that's usually part of obviously a part of WrestleMania, and you get the Hall of Fame pack, which is a part of WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't know if we've gotten that the past few years, but maybe it'll come back.
We never know.
So this was funny. The first look at Bayley in 2K24, and when she won the Royal Rumble, they posted a picture and quickly removed it. It is the worst screenshot you could grab of her. And SmackDown Hotel has it on their page. It's still alive. It's still living. But she actually replied to them and wrote, "Help me," in all caps, because I think it's just a weird render, like an up angle with the shadows coming this way and the hair looks weird.
Yeah, it's not the best possible representation of Bayley that you could do.
Yeah, but I don't know. They didn't take that. They took something like a pre-alpha, whatever, just to post something. I'm sure. They did show Solo Sikoa. They showed Rhea Ripley. They showed Trish Stratus. Everyone looks pretty good. Becky Lynch. They all look like their actual, like, real life counterparts. Kyrie Sane. They did a comparison between 23 and 24. I think the game looks pretty good. They showed the commentary team, which is a 3-man commentary team. It's looking good.
It's such a... I think you hit the nail on the head. It's just an unfortunate screenshot pic. It's... Yeah, I definitely have a feeling that it's a weird hair render, or maybe it's like in the middle of some kind of... I mean, it doesn't look like it's in... it almost looks like it could be her character selection.
It looks like they took the model from Unreal and just cut it out.
Yeah, it's something. There's something weird, because you're right. The Bayley model that they use for the Rumble match graphic is so far and away different than everything else that we've seen, and quality-wise just doesn't match up.
Could have also been a screenshot from an entrance, and the lights are shining. You never know. But we also saw that Undertaker for Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 25 with the arena will be in there, as well as Bret vs. Austin from WrestleMania 13 with the arena. We've seen that arena a lot in these games, and it never gets old. It's a fun one to pick. WrestleMania 39 arena with SoFi Stadium with the translucent roof is in there for Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, that whole match. You get Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 39. And Rick Rude versus the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 10.
So far, good series of matches.
It all looks good. There's just something off about Warrior. The man we know, but I'm talking about the character model here.
Is
he too jacked?
I don't know. I feel like
I know what it is. He's a different tan.
Yeah.
Warrior was like orange tan. This is just tan. This is Hogan tan. Warrior was like orange and shiny.
All right, you're a wrestler. I need to know the difference. Is one, if it's more of an orangey tan, is that spray tan?
I have no idea.
I don't know. No clue. I would think that you would know.
Not a clue.
Wrestler.
But we're going to keep getting some 2K24 news and updates as we go. They're already throwing out a lot. We're seeing a lot. I'm excited for the showcase mode. I'm excited for everything here. So yeah.
Super, super pumped about it. Can't wait.
But with that, are you ready to take the plunge? Are you ready to conquer this entire series of this Panasonic whatever 3DO in one shot?
Yeah, I am ready for this week's deep dive. Guys, if you want your beard to be soft and smell great, then you need Mad Cat Beard Care. Their products are all natural and made to order with vitamins and natural oils to moisturize your skin and to help make your beard healthy and strong.
Our exclusive scent, Play It Forever, is a blood orange, black clove, and vanilla scented beard balm or beard oil that can make your beard have a rich but not overpowering scent. Plus, a portion from their sales go towards finding care for stray cats, covering their medical bills and finding them safe places and forever homes.
Use code GameMarks to save yourself 15% when you place an order over at madcatbeardcare.com. That's 15% off with code GameMarks. And remember, the Mad Cat makes a happy beard. All right, the deep dive brought to you by our friends over at Mad Cat Beard Care. Make sure to use code GameMarks to save yourself 15% off on our signature scent. Play it forever. It's got notes of blood orange, vanilla, and black clove. It is a nice. How would you describe the scent, John?
Pleasant.
It's pleasant. It's not overpowering. It's kind of like a hug. Like it's just
everyone I'm near is like, wow, something smells really good. And I'm like, yeah, I know. This is me.
It's a good scent without smelling fake. And it's hard to find stuff like that, especially for
Soups in the chat says he's got his on right now.
There we go. It's great. Again, madcatbeardcare.com, 15% off your order when you use code GameMarks. And here we go. Royal Pro Wrestling Jikyo Live, released February.
Let me stop you quick. This is not the first Jikyo Live we've played. Do you realize that?
I know that I have said that word many times.
We played in episode 138, almost 100 episodes ago. Champion Wrestler Jikyo Live.
Oh, okay.
Which was kind of similar a little bit. It was a little more cartoony, I would say.
Is that why this game felt?
It's the similar style. Like it is wrestlers with fake names. But yeah, we've played it. It's close.
Okay.
It's a PS1 game from the same year.
I see it now. This almost looks like a more it almost feels more Fire Pro-y.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyway, continue. Sorry.
All right. Royal Pro Wrestling Jikyo Live, released February 26th in 1996. It is a Japanese exclusive game for the Panasonic 3DO, which is not a console that we have covered a lot on this podcast.
Don't think we ever will again.
Yeah, not one that we've talked a lot about either. The 3DO was released October 4th, 1993. And this game is published by Natsumi, developed by Natsumi, and other games in the wrestling sphere in 1996. You've got Fire Pro Wrestling Iron Slam 96, Super Fire Pro Wrestling X Premium, Fire Pro Wrestling XS, 6-Man Scramble, New Japan Pro Wrestling Tokon Retsuden 2, WWF In Your House, and Champion Wrestler Jikyo Live.
There we go. I think Iron Slam 96 is one of my least favorite games we have ever played.
I think it is the one that has changed, that it is such a drastic diversion from what you know about Fire Pro Wrestling that it feels like it shouldn't even have it should just be called Iron Slam Pro Wrestling 96.
They did the same thing on the Xbox a few years later, so don't worry.
Yeah. Oh man, what a weird game that was.
Royal Pro Wrestling. I'm not sure where the name comes from, but it is a pretty cool game. It's on the realm of the Champion Wrestlers, of the Fire Pros, where you're getting wrestlers that look real. Their names are very similar. We'll get to the roster in a little bit. Their appearance is almost spot on. Like they don't even try to hide who they're supposed to be in this game.
Likeness is man, it is 1-to-1. There's not a lot of guessing.
But this is everyone. It's WWA, which is the WWF and WCW. There's MDLL, which is CMLL, and there's I don't know the name of the other one is JWA, which is New Japan and All Japan Pro Wrestling. So everyone's in here. It's a who's who. It's like WCW versus the world. I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it was a pretty fun thing to at least research and then play.
I'll get this out of the way. It's an experience that when someone says that you're going to play a console that you've never played before, and then there's a lot of 3D-esque graphics in the beginning opening of like how the logo moves and stuff, I immediately was just like, oh no, this is going to be one of those like early 3D games that just is, runs really slow, and it's
what though? It kind of looks like an N64, the 3DO, just flat. It doesn't have that curve to it. It's a pretty cool looking console.
I'll give that to you. I think that's accurate.
It's got those little corners that the N64 had.
It's like the little feet on the corners of the console.
Yeah, for easy stacking.
I know. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. But the game modes here, you have the World Championship where you face the entire roster over 3 different promotions to win the Triple Crown. Each match will also be reviewed by the promotion's booker. So there are actually different styles in here. We'll get to that also in a little bit. Tournament, where it's an elimination style tournament. Then there's your exhibition, which is singles or tag, where the arenas you can go in are the Tokyo Egg, which is the Tokyo Dome. The WWA arena, which looks a lot like the old WWF games, like Raw, Royal Rumble, all that. It's got the old WWF style logo with the blue ring apron, the red, white, and blue ropes. Your MDLL arena, which looks like the CML arena. It's like what's the Mexican Coliseum called? The famous one. I can't think of it right now, but it's pretty much that. And then there's like a Roman Coliseum, which is where the tournaments are held. That's also in there as well. Now,
and for each arena, there's like these little intro. Again, this is another thing that made me very scared going into it, is that every intro has this like little FMV that plays of like a 3D render of the arena, and you kind of like go into the doorway, and I just immediately was like, oh no, this is going to be a weird presentation.
It was a cool transition.
Yeah, oh man,
almost
we've
like
just
2K
been
games now, like how the logo like flips and brings you to the match graphic and all that to the arena.
That's true.
I feel like this game was very advanced for 1996,
100%,
and it could have been a PS1 game.
I got nothing to add. You're absolutely right. That is the perfect description. It is a very
I'm laughing at the chat right now because Jamie Patterson says, Clash, is it Arena Mexico? Because I said, what's that Mexican arena? Yes, it is Arena Mexico. I think it is. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's so Clash. We should get that sound clip on a soundboard. That's so Clash.
I would like that to be a shirt. But yeah, that's a very accurate description. It does feel very reminiscent of a PS1 style game, both in presentation and in graphics. Like there are several side scroll-esque, it's like 3D rendered, but still kind of looking pixely. Like I think that's the hardest thing for me to kind of land on for this game, is what graphic style is this, because there's parts of it that are very 3D rendered and look very clean in 3D, but then there's other aspects of it where it kind of does look like pixel art-esque, but then the animation and how things move feels 3D.
It feels like I told you during the playthrough, it feels like a Flash game. Like the way the collision was, how it's hard to describe. Like there was like overlap in the wrestlers, like not everything was so grab and go. Like there's a little bit of like a speed element to it where maybe they don't line up at the same time and they're up in the air different times and all that. The timing was very hard and it was off a little bit, but I think that kind of added to it a little bit.
It doesn't play like every other wrestling game. I think that we've played enough games where we kind of, I don't know, test the waters, I guess, a bit to see what it's going to play like. Is it going to be a Fire Pro clone? Is it going to be a button masher? Is it just like straight up arcade style where it doesn't matter what you hit and wrestlers are flying all over the place? So like usually we try to figure out, what is test the waters a little bit, find out what kind of control system. This felt like it was multiple styles at different times, and it felt like at certain points it was one way and at other points it was another way.
Well, let me tell you why. Each roster here has its own style of play. The Americans, like the WWA and all that, they have like the over the top. They go with the Titantrons. They go with the managers. Like you see Paul Bearer in there. You see Jimmy Hart in there. Or, well, they're not named, so you assume it's just them, which is crazy to me that their likeness is just there. The Japanese wrestlers do more of like the realistic, the strong style, and all that. And the Mexican wrestlers, they do the aerial attacks, the flashy chain. We saw that in our playthrough. We did a whole sequence with Mil Mascaras where he's doing the up and overs, the leapfrogs, the constant running spots. And
there was one where he sent you back and forth off the ropes like 3 or 4 times. I was like, wow, this is going on for way longer than I expected it to.
That was something. And then it kind of ends with whatever, like the drop kick. But then I spilled out of the ring and he did a like suicide dive. Yeah, it was it's a little bit of everything. The way that you play this game is very much dependent on one, your preference of how you choose to play wrestling games, and then also what you like to watch. Like if you like more, that more of American style where it's like, the big flashy like power moves, then yeah, that's the American style. But it's all the things that John just read. But I think to watch the chain wrestling and the aerial like suicide dives and planches and stuff like that, was to watch you play that match was so much fun, just because I don't know, it felt like it was a real. This is the first game in a long time that when I was watching a match, it felt like it could actually be like a real match, like how things were being put together, especially with all like the chain wrestling. There was like a realistic aspect to it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was fun to see the different styles against each other too. Yeah, absolutely. Like Vader just went and grabbed the chair, and it was like, oh, well, that's there, huh? All right, so this is an interesting roster here. It's a lot of weird names with we talked about it before, with a lot of the tribute, homage, whatever you want to call it, to real life wrestlers. Do you want me to kick us off here, and then I'll do 2, and then you can take one in the middle? That is so confusing. We're going to take a break first, and then when we come back, we're going to read the roster. Okay. So, here is your roster for Royal Pro Wrestling Chikyo Live. For the WWA, you've got Golden Lips, which is Hulk Hogan and is just the strangest name. Then you've got Andy Savage, which is Macho Man Randy. I don't know. It's Macho Man Randy Savage. You've got Oyakata the Kokina, which is Yokozuna. Mike Warrior, which is Hawk. Johnny Warrior is Animal. Skunk, who is Sting. Big Bang Bull Power, who is Vader. Underrise Morgan, which is The Undertaker. Kong the Gordish, which is Bruiser Brody. And a lot of room for guessing here. Rich Flair. Who? I don't know. I got no idea who that could possibly be. And for JWA, you have Dynamite Owaki, who is Inoki. Dragon Fujiyama, who is Tatsumi Fujinami. Shinya Hashitomi, who is Shinya Hashimoto. Great Budo, who is the Great Muda. Dr. Kill, who is Dr. Death. Dr. Arbo, who is Abdullah the Butcher. Koji Izawa, who is Mitsuharu Masawa. Jumbo the Tomo, who is Jumbo Saruda. Texas Longhorn is Stan Hansen. And Big Kaiba is Giant Baba. All right, and then for MDLL, you've got Santo Caras, which is El Santo. Little Giants, who is Gran Hamada. Great movie. La Dolphin is Super Delphin. The Sarutobi is Great Sasuke. Tiggle Mask. I almost spit out my water. Which is Tiger Mask. I think it's Tiger, but I like yours better. You think it's Tigle? I sure hope so. Probably is Tigle. You've got Negro Tigle, which is Black Tiger Mask. Kaiser Yamada, which is Jushin Thunder Liger. Kid the Wolf, which is Dynamite Kid. Jose and Mascarado, which is Dos Caras. And Alone El Mascarado, who is Mil Mascaras. So really, it's the heavy hitters from all three rosters.
Yeah.
And even the WWA is the heavy hitters from two different rosters put together.
It's for a small-ish roster, it's got a nice representation.
It feels
everything.
big, yeah.
Yeah, like it's compared to some of the other games that we've played that has like 130, 200 and something wrestlers. Like this is a nice like sprinkling of everything. There's literally, it's a roster with something for everybody.
Yeah, you know what? The Hogan actually reminds me more of, well, it is, right? WCW Hogan?
So everything that is presented, or no, is it just, it's just,
No, yeah, Hogan left in 1983, so it is WCW Hogan.
Yeah, it's, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You can see on the cover, it's got Hogan, Baba, and Mil Mascaras.
Does his shirt say Lipster?
I think it does.
Because it's Golden Lips?
Yeah, you know why he's Golden Lips, right?
I have a feeling I'm going to tell.
His Rocky character is Thunder Lips.
Oh, snap. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I never would have put that together.
Clearly.
Yeah, I had nothing. I honestly thought you were going to tell me a joke. I was waiting for some kind of punchline, and then you had actual facts.
Actual facts.
Great. This is an interesting cover here. It's a very cool presentation. I think it's very different for a wrestling game. I don't think there are, the 3D like word art of Royal Pro Wrestling. It's very generic and definitely a sign of the times. But the artwork in the background of representing the three promotions in the game, kind of cool, kind of different. It's an artistic interpretation of all three wrestlers without it being so, I don't know, kind of, something that we've seen a million times before. Like it feels different and unique.
You know what I just looked up? Because I'm sitting here wondering, how were these covers made back then? Did you know that Photoshop 4 was out in 1996? And I am looking, and there are a lot of elements that are just still the same today in Photoshop. I'm not going to get into it because it's going to bore everyone who has no idea what we're talking.
I would say, stay tuned for the second podcast that John and I are going to be doing.
I'll just say I see Gaussian blur, I see curves, levels, it's all there.
Yeah. Well, that's just like basic photo editing, I think.
Yeah, but like same exact pop-ups.
Does the toolbar look the same?
Yes. It does. It almost looks exactly the same.
Timeless.
So that's just wild. But I just wanted to, I don't know. I always wonder, like, how do these older games make Photoshop? No. Photoshop 4 was out in 96.
That's crazy.
Must go back pretty far. I don't know. We should look into that one day. But I think the cover's all right, using the three biggest wrestlers at the time and three different promotions to do it up. And on the back, you have the Mexican, which is funny because this game was a Japanese exclusive. It shows the Mexican ring, and then it shows the wrestlers. It's got big Vader with his belly out. Kind of small, not really a lot to the back cover. One screenshot.
It does leave a little to be desired. Yeah. It's not the best.
Yeah, it is what it is. And the disc is exactly pretty much on par. It's got the same logo with just three little stripes in the name.
Yeah. Now, I found something that I thought was pretty cool, and I wanted to throw it into the notes. I found the poster, what I believe to be the poster for this game. And it's kind of cool. It's got big 3DO text on it. It says Royal Pro Wrestling. And it's got, I guess that is either supposed to be Mike Warrior or Johnny Warrior, or maybe that's Skunk getting kicked in the face. And I wanted to blow this up so I could get the translation of it so that I could see what it says, because I thought that it was neat. And we're going to do this all in real time right now.
Of course he is.
Well, because I just found it while looking at something else for the game. And I was like, wait a second, this isn't in the notes. I want to see what this is. So the poster says on the top, It says 3DO's first hand-to-hand battle. And then the big block text on the bottom says 180 techniques that remain in ring history, exploding right now. Powerful characters such as mass wrestlers and aerial killers compete against each other. In response to the cheers, he even performed a ring performance.
Oh.
He can use 180 techniques, including illegal ones. And when he nails a technique, the announcers, they announce it just like on TV. 3DO's first professional wrestling game is finally here. I think the artwork on the poster is better than the whole of the cover art.
Yeah, I would say so.
But
because it's a real person, I think.
Caught my attention.
Yeah, looks pretty cool.
Very, very, very interesting.
Natsumi 3DO. Let's jump into the art style and the graphics here. We briefly touched on them. I love this crowd, and I don't think they're the most.
It's
colorful.
Not a detailed crowd.
It's not a detailed crowd, but they react to everything. They have nice depth. Like, it looks like it's actually in an arena and an actual crowd. But when you lock up, when you hit a move, they go wild.
That was the thing that I thought was the coolest, is that they are responsive.
Very responsive. I like that a lot.
And again, like you said, not a ton of detail. It's really kind of hard to make out, They also change from promotion to promotion wherever the arena was. Yeah.
The American one had the foam fingers and signs. The other ones don't.
It's a small detail that I think probably not a ton of people would care about, but as we've done time and time again, for some reason, the crowd is something that John and I always like to talk about because it is an environmental element to it, where it kind of helps the immersion of even a game, with graphics from 1996.
I've said it before. This game's a little bit ahead of its time, graphics wise, and this game could have come out on the PS, which it is on a disc. It is on something new.
Yeah,
3DO, which has been out 2-3 years at this point. I don't know. I think everything looks pretty good. I have no real complaints graphically about this game. The ring apron, the outside mats, the guardrails, everything looks really nice. The load screens, the menus.
Yeah, I like it. I think I'm with you. I don't think that there's an aspect of it that is necessarily bad by any means. It's just it works for some reason. I wish I could be like, it works because of this, but it's one of those things where everything kind of clicks and it just makes sense.
Let's talk about the animation when you go into the match. So you said before, it takes you through the arena and you kind of go through the door of the arena and in a nice animation, but then it cuts to the actual arena. It puts all on the same screen, 2 little graphics of your wrestler, a graphic of the crowd cheering. The top one, I think, is the ring announcer, which changes from arena to arena. And then it shows your character walking to the ring, your opponent walking to the ring, and then it cuts to a big pose of each of them, which I thought was very cool.
I think the presentation of this is the thing that, specifically the versus graphic is the thing that makes this feel so 90s.
Oh, yeah.
But in the best way possible. It is such an unintentional kind of tribute to the graphics of the late 80s and the 90s that it just works. What do you think the background is that is the arena? What photograph do you think that arena is? Where they have the versus screen? Because it's real photo. It's not like a 3D render or a pixelated render. It's just, that's a real photo.
I would think they just grabbed a stock photo of an All Japan or a New Japan show, and
that's wild.
Yeah,
that's so crazy.
A lot of it's real photos. Yeah, I guess you can get anything in the in the database.
It's a hidden little background, though. It's a cool little thing.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. And then, of course, you have your character select screen, which has everyone in a row for their respective brands. And it shows a little character model of them next to them with their info, like their height, their weight, where they're from, and their name. So if you don't know who the little icon is, if you scroll past them, it'll show you the actual little sprite of who they are.
And I think the only other thing that I would want to talk about, like from in-match aspect, is the animations of the moves. And we kind of touched on earlier when we said that, there's some that go fast, some that go slow, but like the animations themselves, I think the moves look good. Like they're a tombstone looks like a tombstone. The announcers announce what moves are happening when you're thrown into the corner. I was not expecting that to be a thing where you can get thrown into the corner and, you can get a splash or a knee or a clothesline in the corner, and everything kind of looks smooth and clean. It wasn't like, was that supposed to be? I think the weirdest thing was the small package. Like that was the only one I was like, oh, that's a weird looking one.
It was like kind of just rolling on the ground until it was in a pin. We're like, oh
yeah.
That one was weird.
But everything else, we saw a choke slam, a tombstone, elbow drop, brain buster, like it all looked good.
DDTs, power bombs, and when you do the finish, the screen kind of gives it like a little zoom in too, which is pretty cool.
That's kind of neat. That was again a little interesting detail. Didn't expect it to be there. Not like a game changing mechanic, but it's cool.
Did you know? Did you know in the singles division of World Championship mode, each wrestler can unlock 3 different magazine covers for receiving gold stars in matches?
Did you know the last option in the options menu opens up a new window showing over 40 pages worth of design sketches, doodles, and character ideas? Many notable real-life wrestlers can be seen in sketches.
Did you know Royal Pro Wrestling is on eBay from $158.99 to $195.99, including the case and the manual?
Whew, that's a steep price.
That is a lot.
How much is that? Let's do a little eBay search right now. Let's find out how much a 3DO is.
Ooh.
If the game is $150. It's varying. So, I mean, tried and true interrupt is always the best one. So there's one that has the 3DO console, manual, 2 controllers, and 27 games is listed at $750 or best offer.
Wow. I see Jurassic Park on that one.
Yeah. Then there's just one that just says it's just the console. Looks like it has 2 controllers, and it's $167.
Gex. Do you remember Gex?
Gex. I had one that I think I had the one that was on the Game Boy.
I had a demo, and I just kept playing the same level over and over again.
It's okay. This is the other thing that we got to talk about for the 3DO. The 3DO isn't exclusive to Panasonic.
No?
I think the most commonly known one is the Panasonic, but the 3DO has several iterations, which you can find multiple on eBay. So there's a number of different manufacturers produce the 3DO system. Panasonic version is the best known, but there's 3 versions of the Panasonic. There's 4 versions of Gold Star GDO. There's Sanyo IMP. There's Creative 3DO Blaster. There's an arcade cabinet and the DMB 800.
I have no idea what you just said.
So all different 3DO consoles.
But I think the one we're talking about is the Panasonic.
No, yeah, but I think all of them, a 3DO game will work on any of those consoles. It's just like the 3DO is the internal. You're going to say you don't understand what I'm talking about anyway. It's okay.
Yeah, I know some of these words. Let's talk about these sketches here. So when you go into the options, George actually did it on accident before even looking at the notes, which is pretty funny. So I was like, oh, there it is.
I was very confused. I was like, I definitely did something wrong here. How come there's doodles?
It just opens up. You said, what are these, drawings from kids or something? It's just wrestlers that didn't make it in the game. A lot of them look like just original characters where Some of them are maybe like Hulk Hogan sketch or whatever. But for the most part, I don't think a lot of these made it in. There's like a baseball head looking guy, a little mantis looking person. I don't know. They're pretty wild looking. And there's notes like scribbled next to them. Is it something you need in a game? No. It was fun to find. But there's no way I'm probably going through all 40 pages of them.
That's a lot. That's a lot of pages. But hey, you know what? There's something for everybody. If that's something, if you want to see the kind of concept art or, things that were left on the, I don't know. We want to say that these were things that were left on the cutting room floor. If they were just like concept arts of like sketches of ideas that maybe people had, we'll say it's cutting room floor stuff. But if you want to see maybe a little peek behind the curtain of how a game gets made and the ideas that go into it, it's a cool little Easter egg to find.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm looking at some of these. Would have been, I don't know. Where do you feel on adding fake wrestlers to the mix? Like, obviously they're all fake because you can't use their likeness, but adding like originals in there.
I mean, I guess you could have done like a third promotion.
Or you mean a fourth?
Or, sorry, a fourth promotion. Or have it be where, there's... Then are we getting into too big of a roster territory? Because then it could be like where it's 3 and 3, where it's like 3 real life counterpart ones and then 3 that are like the fantasy ones. Could do one or two extra ones that are the custom, the one-off characters that were designed here. It's, I don't know. Like you said, technically no one's a real character. Like, you're not going out to like look to fight Golden Lips or whatever the name was, but like,
You're not? No. But yeah, I mean, let's get into the tough stuff here. Let's get into the R&R, the ratings and reviews.
I'm very interested to hear what this game has.
We got some user ratings here.
Okay.
We're going to go good old faithful game FAQ user ratings. We got a 4.5 out of 5 stars, which is outstanding.
Wow.
Difficulty is a 2 out of 5, considered easy, and length of hours played 73 for the full 5 out of 5.
Wow.
So overall, a crowd pleaser. But with that, we all know what's coming next. The most important rating of them all. Because, George, what time is it?
I think it's time to rate the game.
The game!
All right, John, I feel pretty confident about this. I think I'm going to go in for a 3-2-1 here, and we're going to do it at the same time. I'm feeling confident.
He's got the confidence.
I've been burned before by this, so we're going to see if we're going to see. 3, 2, 1.
Play it forever. Yeah.
All right.
There's no doubt.
Tell me why, John.
First of all, researching it was cool to see the likenesses of all these mixed characters from different promotions in here. You get the Fire Pros and whatever where they're slightly off, but Fire Pro doesn't have the detail that you could put in where a game like this does. Like, you could see Hulk Hogan. It's not just a bald guy with blonde hair and yellow trunks. Like, you can get them as close as possible in Fire Pro. But these are fully drawn sprites of the wrestlers we know and love. Somehow they got away with it. Paul Bearer's in there. Jimmy Hart's in there. It's a beautiful game. Everything about it. It's not clunky. It's not messy. The gameplay for me wasn't... All right, George used the controller, and the only way I was able to play is if I used the keyboard. So it wasn't the best experience for me, but I still managed to have fun, so that's saying something.
This is true.
What's your reasoning?
You pretty much covered everything. I was skeptical when I saw those little 3D FMVs because, like I had said before, we've been burned with stuff like that before. We've played many a game that has had those to try to make themselves look like the presentation's like futuristic and super cool and look how ahead of the curve we are. And then the game loads and you're like, what is this? There's like a disconnect between the loading video and what we're actually playing. But this matches, it doubled down, it set expectations and then met them. And that is, I mean, you Can't ask for anything more than that in a wrestling video game or any video game. Set expectations, you should meet them, or you hope that you meet them. But yeah, double play it forever this week. But with that, John, are you ready to get into this week's Softlock? Softlock. All right, the Soft Lock brought to you by Dubby. Use code GameMarksPod to save yourself 10% for delicious tasting, jitterless free energy over at Dubby.gg. Again, 10% off your order. Use code GameMarksPod. The Soft Lock is a weekly segment where one of our mega marks from our Patreon gives us a topic to debate, a question to answer. It is a question of the week with a fancy name because we are fancy boys on this podcast. And this, what? Don't give me that look. We're fancy.
Fancy boys.
Hey, that's what happened. I don't know. This week, the question comes from Spork. The Elder Spork, Mr. Best Batch Promotions himself. And Spork would like to know, if you could bring back any peripheral from any gaming era, what would it be and how would you adapt it for modern use? And the example that he gave was how the Virtual Boy flopped, but VR is a thing and a very successful thing.
The first thing that came to my brain was Radica. Do you remember Radica?
I have no idea what that is.
I would like you to look up Radica Baseball right now.
Radica?
Yes, it was the greatest thing in the world.
Radica?
You had a mini.
Oh, John,
plate.
I've got fantastic news for you.
You still have it?
No, there is something that is very similar to this that you can buy for the Oculus.
There you go. For those at home who don't know what it is, it's a little home plate that you connect to your TV with the little the aux cables, whatever they are. And then it also had a ball that connected to the home plate where you pick your pitch and you throw it towards the screen. You don't actually throw it. You keep it in your hand. You throw it. And on the screen, it actually happens. But then there's also a bat with a sensor over the home plate, and you used to hit it. Now, I'm assuming most of this stuff exists on like the Oculus now, because there's the drums, the guitars that you don't even have to play anymore.
Oh,
I think there's a football game.
I think Radica made a fishing game.
They did, yeah.
And I had that, because that looks real familiar.
Yeah, they made a lot of stuff like this. I wish it existed still.
There is something like this for the Oculus where you can put I think you buy a baseball, it's a kit, and you can hook the controller to the bat. I don't know if it has like a whole home plate or a ball or anything like that, but I know that there is the bat mechanic.
That's pretty cool. I see it.
I can only imagine that as time goes on, and
I don't want to swing a bat in my house though like that. Like I was good with the little plastic one. That thing had weight.
Because that's what housed all the electronics, probably.
I remember the day it started rattling, and I was like, the end is near. That was a terrible day. It might still be in my basement, though.
Oh, that'd be cool to bust that out and see if it still works.
The only other thing I thought of that we have now on a larger scale is the Game Boy printer.
Oh,
Imagine you're playing Xbox and you grab a screenshot and you just hit print and it just pops right out.
First thing that came to my mind.
Your phone could just connect to a printer now, so.
Yeah, but there's something like charming about the quality of those prints. Yeah. First thing that came to my mind was two things. It was the Power Glove, the Nintendo Power Glove, and the Duck Hunt gun. But then my brain kind of spiraled even more. And do you remember Time Crisis?
Yeah.
The arcade machine. They made a PlayStation version. And I don't remember if it was great, but I remember my friend had it and we played it for a really long time. And I don't remember if we played it for a long time because it was good, or if we played it for a long time because we were frustrated because we wanted it to be good. And we're like, we're just going to play it till we like it.
I feel like a game like that has that charm in an arcade where if you're playing at home, it just might not be good because
I don't remember if it translated, but
yeah,
I just remember playing the home version of it for so long and just being like, it's just not the same. Maybe if we just keep giving it more time, we'll find like the good part of it, and it just never happened. But yeah, I would say the Power Glove, I think, is probably the first thing that jumped out to me. Was just like to put on a glove and have all the controls, like it feels futuristic.
Yeah. I don't know what you play with that now, but
I don't know either, but you know, it'd be cool if they made like trying to think like not necessarily like an Iron Man or something like that, but they made some kind of where like you're in a suit of armor and like there's something that you have in one hand and then you can control aspects of the armor on the Power Glove.
That could be cool. Like
something like that, maybe.
Snap and
Thanos Simulator. There we go.
Wait, here's something else. Kind of on the newer realm that was posted in our Discord by Will the other day. PDP's new wireless guitar controller works with Rock Band 4 and eventually Fortnite Festival. I think that's something we all need. I think it's something we all want. And yeah, Rock Band's releasing its final DLC, or already did. So I guess they have to repurpose these to use with the new Fortnite Festival. So yeah.
Yes. Oh, the game I was thinking of. I believe Time Crisis 3 was on the PlayStation 2. I think that's it.
Glad we cleared that up.
I just wanted to see, because there's like 7 of them. Just in case, felt like you wanted to play Time Crisis, John. Now you can know.
All right. I could tell you, no, I never want to do that. But do you want to know?
I don't.
What we are playing next week. Listen, it's the week of Valentine's Day next week. We're going to
see it in the
sit
notes.
here.
I don't want to do it.
We're going to play a game. We're going to play a mobile game called Bad Girls Wrestling.
Why?
Don't you want to play every wrestling game? Isn't that our goal?
But why is this a game?
If you look at the screenshots, it honestly does not look bad.
Is the cover art, is that supposed to be a Bella in a Finn Balor shirt?
Anything's possible in Bad Girls Wrestling.
Okay. Well, this is going to be an interesting one for sure. All right. We've played weirder, I'm sure. But with that,
I only picked that because what's its name? Wrestling with Emotions 2 isn't out yet.
Oh yeah, I forgot that's what we did last year for Valentine's Day, right?
Yep.
All right, youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast for our playthrough videos and a whole lot more. GameMarksPod.com/shop for our exclusive merchandise. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod for our shirts. Patreon.com/GameMarksPod for this show, early and ad-free access to show notes, live recordings, and a whole lot more. At GameMarksPod on all forms of social media. And please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you choose to listen to your podcast. It really does help out the podcast. And if you have a product or service you would like to advertise on this podcast, please reach out to us at GameMarksPod@gmail.com. That's the whole show. Nothing else to do but to get ready for another weird game next week. Do that thing.
Game over, Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future Endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. radar. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.